Browns back home this week, and they are facing the Green Bay Packers, and that means once again Joe Flacco will be under pressure because the Packers have one of the best fronts in football. They have one of the best edge rushers in football in the newly acquired Micah Parsons. And Mary Kay, this is probably to this point the best defense the Browns are facing this season.
I think it really is. They're so good against the run. They're great pass rushers, and you really almost have nowhere to go with that ball. So it's going to be a really, really tough challenge for Joe Flacco. Hopefully for him, he'll have Jack Conklin back at right tackle, but they're really going to have to be on point. And as you mentioned, Micah Parsons. As if this defense wasn't good enough already, now they have their equivalent of Myles Garrett. So it's going to be a really tough afternoon for these guys, but they have to get right, and he's got to play clean ball if they want to get back on track.
Yeah, and Ashley, when you watch this Packers defense, they're so fast. They fly around. I watched them against Detroit and thought that. Then I watched them 4 days later against the Commanders and thought that like this defense is fast. They create pressure. And Jeff Hafley, former Browns secondary coach, as Mary Kay has pointed out, has this defense flying around.
Yeah, look, we talk about the Browns defense creating havoc. I think that Packers front does a lot of the same things. Watching that Thursday night game from week 2, they did not give Jaden Daniels and the Commanders much time to operate. He had to process very quickly. And again, they still led 17-3 at one point. So it's definitely, I think, the toughest test they have faced between the front, the secondary, and that unit seems to be firing on all cylinders right now.
Now, something else the Browns are going to have to deal with on Sunday is the heat. Of course, on Sunday in Baltimore, when it was hot and muggy, Denzel Ward was cramping, and he left the game in the first half, tried to come back in the second half, but was unable to stay on the field. And Dawand Jones at left tackle had to rotate out of the game 3 plays on a 3-and-out in the first half, 7 plays of an 11-play drive in the second half. So, Mary Kay, this is something we're going to have to monitor going into Sunday's game.
Yes, it's supposed to be about 85 degrees on Sunday, so it will be more of the same down at the stadium, but now they're going to have to plan for it. Now they know for sure that they've got some guys that have to deal with this sort of thing on game day, and they have to start now. They have to start getting hydrated and getting the rest that they need and doing whatever they can with their sports science folks to make sure that they are good to go for Sunday. The last thing that you want is for Denzel Ward to not be able to get to play against Jordan Love and this wide-ranging offense. So definitely something they're going to have to keep an eye on. Same thing with Dawand. Now, I'm sure he doesn't want to come out, but they're doing what's best for him and the team.
Yeah, it was a precautionary thing that they predetermined, and it makes sense because as we looked into it a little more, Ashley, Dawand has had some heat-related issues here, both in week 2 against Jacksonville, but also during practices as well.
Yeah, he left a training camp practice on July 30th. He was actually carted off because of the heat and was fine. You mentioned that Jacksonville game. People may remember him getting sick in rookie minicamp. They talked extensively after that it was because he ate too much close to practice, but it was also hot and muggy that day. We've seen him struggle in these situations. Now, Dawand Jones put in a lot of work this offseason, transforming his muscle and fat composition and all these things and doing the DEXA scans they have here. But I think it's understandable, since we've seen him have some issues in the summer and the lead up to this season, why they would come to that conclusion. But still, most starting left tackles in the NFL, you don't have to account for something like that.
Now, there is some good news for the Browns going into this game, and that is Quinshon Judkins came out of Sunday in really good shape. They're getting speed conditioning-wise. Didn't look like that was a problem at all. And also scheme-wise, and Mary Kay, he's going to be able to take on much more of a workload for a run game that just needs to get jump-started here.
Yes, it really does. And I thought he looked really good in practice. In the 2 days we watched him last week, he looked good in the game. But now he's going up against a really, really fearsome Packers run defense. They have shut down 2 teams so far that were really good running the football, and they are number 2 against the run right now, and it's going to be tough, tough sledding. So the offensive line is going to have to be on point with their blocking. Quinshon is going to have to hit those holes, and I think they're going to have to do other things to try to get the running game off the ground.
But actually, at least having that workhorse back, having seen him out there, see what he's capable of, that should help a little bit if they can get this blocking scheme figured out.
Yeah, look, it's a better position to be in than they were in week 1 against the Bengals, where they couldn't get anything going. They averaged like 2 yards per carry. They only had 49 yards for the game. So you saw also against Baltimore, Quinshon Judkins rip off that 31-yard run late in the game, so maybe he found something there a little bit. And look, like, he missed so much in the lead up to his first game last week. This is the first time he's going to have a full week of practice. So hopefully for them, that means it looks a little bit better and they can keep building.
And of course, we're keeping an eye on Mike Hall as we go through this week. Will this be the week that he returns? And Joel Bitonio did not practice today, but it's not expected to be anything that will keep him out of Sunday's game. Whenever we get updates on those guys all throughout the week, we will have them at cleveland.com/Browns.